The first ever early signing period in college football, and the Auburn Tigers came away feeling very good about their day. I'm Matt Scalici. Joining me to give us a little bit more information about Auburn's signing class is James Crepea on campus at Auburn. James, just to start us off, obviously this is a big group for Auburn. They signed most of their expected signing class for the 2018 class. Who are some of the guys that Gus Malzahn highlighted and made some very interesting comments about as far as the guys who were signed today?
Well, he really singled out basically everybody, but I'd say the most prominent players of the 15 who signed today for Auburn, you got to start with Joey Gatewood. And it's always, quarterbacks always draw that kind of attention, but Gatewood was the earliest commit to this class. He stuck through it. That was something that Malzahn pointed out, the loyalty, sticking with Auburn over the course of over 2 years. Had a coordinator change. You got to remember, Rhett Lashley was the coordinator who recruited Joey Gatewood and got the commitment 2 years ago. And that changed a year ago. And he stuck through it and stuck by Auburn throughout this process. This is one of the best high school quarterback recruits Auburn's had in several years. If you want to say since Jeremy Johnson, certainly he was a heralded recruit and a four-star recruit as well. Gatewood is more of a dual threat, and for years, Gus has been comparing him to Cam Newton by way of physical presence and tools. Not necessarily from what he'll be able to achieve. Obviously, that's impossible to say. But from a physical standpoint, he feels he has the tools of Cam, and he's that big a guy and that athletic. Next would be Asa Martin. I'd say he can certainly be the next kind of top running back here in the years to come. Gus compared him to Kerryon Johnson. I think that's probably a fair comparison at this point as far as what Ace has been able to do in his high school career. And from the next group in this signing class that I would say so far is the three defensive backs from Quindarius Monday and Jamian Sherwood and Christian Tutt, mainly because of the opportunity for all of them to play and play early and contribute early. And that's what Malzahn had cited specifically for all of them, is they are going to have that opportunity. And that's the numbers game that Auburn's playing with the secondary. You have, he said the two senior safeties, but that's just the starters. You have two more safeties after that. You could possibly lose a Carlton Davis out of the mix in the starting group. This secondary is going to have to reload quite a bit, and that's going to afford those three true freshmen, who are all going to be early enrollees, the opportunity to not only practice in the spring and get some reps, but they can compete for playing time very quickly.
Now, James, the February signing period, still a thing in college football. What will Auburn have left in terms of the number of guys they can take 2 months from now? And then also just what are they looking for in those spots? What are their priorities the rest of the way here?
The number itself is a bit fluid, and I think that's going to stand for everybody for a number of reasons. One, I mean, obviously the limit is technically 25. I don't see Auburn signing up to 25 necessarily. You're probably looking more in the 22, 23 kind of area. But it's always fluid because you don't know about either graduate transfers or just transfers in general. Obviously, earlier this week we saw Trey Threet, sophomore linebacker, choose to take off. So things like that could happen. Roster attrition happens in the spring and obviously later on after the spring as well. So it's always kind of a little bit of a fluid situation, but from either a junior college or high school signing situation, I'd say you're probably looking around the 22, 23, 24 area in all likelihood for this class. Now, as far as position-wise, that's a bit more definitive. For one, the offensive line was a position of emphasis for this year. They've got a couple of guys lined up, but they need to get more, and Malzahn said as much. They need one or two more, I'd say 2, maybe even 3 more. It was a position that was a priority a year ago. Auburn was only able to get, I believe it was 3 offensive linemen last year. At this point, they were trying to get 5 or 6 in this class. They've got some work to do on the offensive line in order to do that. Also at corner, another position of need where they're probably going to have to go out and get one there. And he mentioned tight end, which that was a little bit surprising to me, only in that from a numbers standpoint, it's never been a position that Auburn has had a lot of guys, and they're not losing anybody on paper. So when you have a Sal Cannella back, when you have a Jalen Harris back, when you have H-backs and Chandler Cox and other players back at that position, it's a little bit surprising to hear that they want another one, not necessarily from it's not bad. It's just it's surprising when they're not losing out of that position. It's not a position that they've ever had a lot of players at one time. But certainly the offensive line and I would say corner are probably the top 2 priorities.
All right, well, James, thanks for breaking it all down for us. And for more on Auburn's early signing period, you can visit us at AL.com.